Well, this morning has sort of surprised me. It's not raining and it's just sort of foggy. Climbs are vicious this morning though. Absolutely vicious. Between Tennessee Gap, Tennessee, and headed to Hog Pen, and just the climb up from Tennessee is just rough. All in 0.9 miles. So up, back down in less than a mile. Pointless, but good.
Every day that I was back on the trail, I was feeling more connected to it than I had in 2015. I felt like I could now appreciate all the little places and reflect on the moments that helped transform me into the person I am today. I also felt honored that I was able to sit and watch that same transformation slowly happen, unknowingly, to the new hikers around me.
Good morning. Technically it's afternoon, but this is the first time I've been able to really pull out the camera since last night. So good morning. It's day 4, and the reason you didn't get to see the end of day 3 is because it started storming really bad. Got super foggy, super rainy, super windy, and I ended up getting to the Tray Mountain shelter pretty late last night. I actually slept in the shelter. I'm not typically a shelter person, but it was just pouring rain. Everything I had was soaked. So I crashed out pretty early and didn't get a chance to shoot any video. Just got done climbing up to Kelly Knob, which was a little insane, and now I am on my way down to Hiawassee. It's about 11 miles from Tray to Hiawassee, and I'm actually going to take the night off in Hiawassee. So, 70 miles in 4 days. I'm a little tired and wet and insanely hungry. So got just a couple miles left down the mountain, and gonna throw the thumb out and get on in.
Dix Creek Gap tends to be a pretty memorable road crossing for most first-time AT thru hikers. It's a spot that always seems to have some sort of trail magic.
If anybody wants to go to Panama City and you want somewhere to stay, I'm the place to stay. All right, guys, hot dogs are.
Dix Creek Gap is also a good place to throw a thumb out so you can experience your first hitch to town. If you're lucky. Like a lot of hikers, Hiawassee, Georgia was my first real trail town experience in 2015. We managed to pack 6 stinky hikers into a fancy room at the Holiday Inn Express and went on a small adventure road walking 2 extra miles to find an elusive pizza buffet. This year, I opted for a cheaper and more low-key experience.
Probably not the hotel that a lot of people would want to stay at, but for hikers, for thru hikers, this place is perfect. Super cheap, got a cool vibe, a lot of hikers here, everybody kind of relaxing, kicking back, having a beer, and just relaxing, getting off the trail for the night. Looks like it's probably going to pour again tonight, and apparently the temps are going to drop down pretty low. So I'm glad that I came into Hiawassee. So I'm gonna finish my beer, maybe go soak in the tub because that sounds pretty good, and hit the hay. Off and rolling this morning. Got started back at Dix Creek Gap and about to knock out the last chunk of Georgia before crossing into North Carolina, which is pretty exciting. Really pretty day today. It doesn't look like it's gonna rain. So fingers crossed that keeps up.
Crossing your first state line on a thru hike is a monumental event that you'll never forget. Unfortunately, that day in 2015 for me will always be referred to by my family and I as the awful day. As soon as we came upon the famous tree at Bly Gap, the wind howled, the rain poured, and the temperature dropped. We were soaked and freezing as we struggled to hike 2 more miles to the next shelter.
Started pouring rain on me a little bit. North Carolina always welcomes me in the same way. Temperature drops, wind starts blowing, and it starts pouring rain. But I made it here to Muskrat shelter. And this is actually a pretty memorable shelter for me, because that year it was nasty whenever we crossed the border. We were freezing cold, and Snuggles and I showed up to this shelter, and it was packed. I mean, this is a tiny shelter. I don't know if you can really see it behind me, but it's maybe got room for like 6 people. There was probably 20 hikers packed in here like a sardine can. And we got here, and we showed up, and there was absolutely no room. We were soaking wet, and we just stood here and stared at people. Like our brains were just frozen, like we didn't know what to do. And our buddy Rube got out of the shelter and went over and helped us set up our tent in a spot. And I just remember that next morning waking up and feeling like that was maybe the worst day of my life, and going forward that, and if I could handle that, I'd be all right, no matter what the trail threw at me or what life threw at me. So pretty memorable shelter. Pretty crazy to be back here again. Just thinking about everybody in here and thinking about our tent sitting over there, and pretty amazing. This trail is just continuing to bring back some deep, important memories for me.